feared and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son still had me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
We are chasing the pennant tonight. I am back in at host. I am Shane, and I am joined by Rob and Boric tonight. Fellas, it's been about 2 weeks since I've been on. I'm glad to be back. How are we?
Doing pretty well. I had a very American 4th of July weekend, celebrated with beer, burgers, fireworks, the most American way possible. And I also woke up the other day and saw Twitter notifications that Nationals Twitter, or some Nationals blog on Twitter, retweeted and mocked a tweet that I made all the way back in September, and I think that we need to team up and we need to get a little beef going with them.
Now, is this the most pansy move possible? This is waiting, and look, kudos to the Nationals. I mean, what a second half, what a postseason. Congratulations, you won your World Series, whatever. But holy shit, we're going to take it back now? It's July of the following year. Where was that talk and where was that smack throughout the year? I'm 100% ready to sit there.
10 freaking months. This is
ridiculous.
10 freaking months. And I guess this whole COVID thing leaves people with nothing better to do than scour Twitter for old-ass tweets.
That's it, man. That is 100% what it is. But good. Now it's going to be our blog versus their blog. Problem is we don't really have a blog. We just have a page that we call a blog. But regardless, we have a show that reaches a far greater audience than that shitty little blog. So we're going to run with it. So, Rob, thanks for tweeting out whatever it was that you tweeted out last year at some point. That's brilliant.
It's something that ended up being very, very wrong. I said that they wouldn't make it past the NLDS and that they would probably lose to the Brewers in the wild card game, and that did not turn out too well. But I'm still ready to stick up for my laurels here.
We appreciate it. Then I got Boric over there. Boric, man, you were going to be doing a little bit of some new work for us. We're going to tap into another way, just yet another way that is not writing, that we're going to try to tackle in terms of entertainment and news and getting things out there. You're actually going to start doing some YouTube videos for us, which you do for another site and in your own free time. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about what you're going to go into?
Yeah, well, my weekend also, to start off, like Rob's has been good. We just had my dad grilled stuff both days to go with the 4th of July motto. Normally use the grill, and we had wings today, and we had burgers yesterday. So that was good. In terms of videos, I was planning on doing stuff. Some is going to be on prospects, just like I do for Shane's good friend Jamie at Flyers Nitty. I do a mix of prospect and on actual people. So I figure it'll be the same type of style, a mix of some prospect vids, some probably look aheads to games as well. Obviously, that won't be every day because baseball's every damn day. Hockey, you have a little bit of a gap line sometimes, but some look aheads to games and then different things on different players. One of the things I was first going to do a couple videos ahead of the season of a couple guys that need to step up that might not be on your obvious list of names that need to step up for the season for us to be successful. So like obviously Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler are people that people know have to step up, but like maybe some other guy in the rotation I'll talk about. So it's going to be a mix of a bunch of things, but I think you'll all find it interesting, and they're all going to be shorter videos like I do for the other channel. I'm going to try to keep them all. The most I'm ever going to do is like 10 minutes. So it'll be nice, short, and sweet that everybody can watch to start their morning and their night and their afternoon, whenever the hell they want to catch it. It's like nice. One of my friends that I do podcasts with, whatever the hell o'clock. We're here at whatever the hell o'clock. So you can listen to it and watch it at whatever the hell o'clock.
Well done. Well, I'm excited to see what you come up with, man. We appreciate any additional involvement at this point beyond the pod. So it'll be cool to get some video going. I'm sure some of the other guys will jump in on some of those as well, but you spearheading that, I'm excited for you, man. So we appreciate it. But you did both bring up the 4th of July and how you spent your yesterdays. So let's go into a little bit about it. Everyone's 4th of July is a little bit different. This is a Sunday episode. I should probably have started with that. This is a Sunday episode, so we have to at some point talk about things that are a little bit lighter. Baseball this week has kind of overflown us with real baseball news and real life news. So since that's going to be the majority of our show, we wanted to just get some of this shit out the way. So we're going to talk a little bit about 4th of July. Rob, in a very Rob-like way. I expected absolutely nothing less than what you said. Full-on American. I essentially, not that I want to picture you like this, but I'm essentially picturing you in the Will Ferrell thing with basically nut hugger shorts and the cutoff shirt. Full-on drunk America. Which is
that's actually not far off.
Look, man, I told you I don't want to picture it, but it's just what I see when I think about you on a holiday like this. The ultimate bro, Rob. You kind of carry that motto for us here. So I expected nothing less. But you said you just grilled up some hot dogs, some hamburgers. What is your? I need everyone's opinion on this because I'm a big food guy. I always like going a little non-traditional on holidays for food, with the exception of Thanksgiving. What is your absolute go-to main and side dish at a 4th of July barbecue?
Ooh, man. Main and side. Well, main's always going to be burgers. That's just...
I feel like that's everyone, man. You're very boring.
Okay, I am boring, yes, but I make a mean cheeseburger.
Well, hold on. I have a question.
Beautiful, delicious cheeseburger.
I have a question. Are you making this burger yourself, or is it a frozen patty that you're throwing onto a grill?
No, I make them myself.
Okay, I'm making sure. A lot of people they go cheap on these holidays because they gotta make things in bulk, and that ain't me. It doesn't matter if I'm cooking for 2 people or 200 people. Everyone's getting good fucking food. So first of all, I'm proud of you. I've never seen you cook.
This year you have more of a reason to go cheap, Shane. No one has any damn money. We've been in a pandemic for 4 months.
Whoa. I have dollars.
Well, I'm not.
I always have food for food. Always have money for food. It's the other stuff that falls by the wayside. But food, can't skimp on that, man. You need good quality stuff. But Rob, you made some delicious burgers, and that's your go-to, and I can in some ways appreciate that. Boric, I hope you have something slightly different as a main. If you don't, this short topic of non-baseball stuff is going to go very quick. What do you got for us?
Mine usually is burgers is everybody, so that's too easy. Mine normally is, I usually have wings and hot dogs on 4th of July, either lunch or dinner is one or the other, and then the other's the other. That's normally what I've been doing. The only time I used to really get burgers is we would have them given out for free at the one diner when I was up that way, when I used to go to the parade more. But other than that, I would usually always have wings and then also have hot dogs. So
Wings is interesting.
Yeah, like that's what we had today. We always tend to have, especially because my dad got a new grill, so we fired them up on the grill and had the really.
Yeah. What kind of grill? It's important. I need to know if I'd be buds with your dad.
It is one of the nicer models. I can't remember though.
I'm not talking about the model. I don't. No one's going to care about your model. Is it charcoal, or is it gas propane? Like, what are we working with here?
Oh, his is. He had charcoal for a period of time. Now it's gas because it's just quicker.
Sweet God.
Yeah.
Man, I'm not, you know what? I'm not even just slightly. I'm very disappointed in your father. He and I would not be buds at this juncture. My God. Everyone's going with burgers. Now you're going with the quicker cook on a gas grill. This is just no good, man. This is no good at all.
So I'm guessing you're a charcoal guy?
Yes, I'm a charcoal guy.
Well, the gas grills are better now, though, because before you had to sit out there and then you would see those videos of people almost lighting themselves on freaking fire because
they're idiots.
There's things wouldn't go where now you just have the igniter. So unless if your igniter's broken.
Now, don't get me wrong. I have both. I have a charcoal grill and I do have a gas grill. This is because I cook a lot. There are nights where you get in at 8 o'clock and you know that you just need something quick and you're cooking for yourself. Go for it. Not a problem. Grill's still a grill. But when you're cooking for a lot of people on a holiday that everyone's going to be outside hanging out anyway, take your time. Throw that on a charcoal grill. Get the good quality. I'm disappointed I'm very disappointed. Rob, I didn't ask you, man. What did you do with yours? Did you cook yours on a stovetop pan?
No, I went propane.
God damn.
Dude, it's a 4th of July party. People are hungry. Nobody wants to wait for their food.
Well, you got to start that shit early then. If it's, I mean, it's a burger. It still cooks in like 15 minutes. It's not
Yeah,
that big
yeah.
of a deal.
Even that's same with hot dogs. Hot dogs are pretty quick too, no matter what you throw them on.
Yeah, hot dogs are what they are.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that neither of you said that's your favorite main. That would have been Stephanie's favorite main, and we're still fighting about it.
Oh, hot dogs.
Yeah, they are what they are. It's an only for baseball. That's it. I feel like we're John Kruk right now, by the way, guys. We're just sitting here talking about food, and for the listeners, I'm not even going to apologize about it. Food's great. You should embrace this. But we didn't talk about sides. Now, this is something that I feel like everyone I ask is going to give a different answer here. And everyone's family is a little different. Everyone's friends group is a little bit different. Rob, you strike me as kind of just a protein guy. And like your side is just a smaller burger. What is your favorite side on
Well,
these
it is protein, but it's not another burger. It's potato salad.
Okay. All right. Now, does someone make this in your family? Or you guys just buy it stores, just store ready?
Yesterday, it was brought over by my aunt who made it herself, and usually it is made by someone in the family.
Cool. I respect that. Good work. Good work by your family over there. Boric, what is your favorite side? You, oddly enough, also strike me as like a protein strict guy. It would not surprise me at all if you just decided to gnaw on the bones that remained on anything.
No, I have normally I have also one of those pasta salads on the side. Normally we have a macaroni or something like that. So usually something like that would be my side compared to potato salad.
Okay. All right. Well, I respect both. I get significantly less irritated by sides than mains. Sides, I mean, just almost anything you want to bring anywhere. It's probably going to work
there's
out.
certain sides that don't go with stuff like what my one manager at the one
like things with pickles in it, Rob.
Hey, don't shit on pickles. Pickles are
You're
amazing.
shitting pickles every single time I get the opportunity.
We would be giving people like sweet potato fries with fish that sweet potato doesn't go with at all, and we wonder why no one's ordering it off the menu. I wonder why. That's how our one manager was at the one retirement home I worked at.
Can't imagine you working at a retirement home. Don't know why. You're just so youthful. All right, 2 more on this.
6 months.
Then we're going to roll into some baseball stuff because it's been about 9 minutes of sitting here talking about food. And we got a lot of baseball stuff to get into for the last 45 minutes of this show or so. Or, yeah, 45 minutes. All right. You're both drinkers. You're both beer drinkers. For the most part, everyone on this podcast is a shitty beer drinker, except for Rob, who does know what a good dark beer is. What is your 4th of July drink of choice, and is it different than your regular drink of choice?
It is, just because 4th of July is an American holiday, so for that specific purpose, I've got to keep it domestic. Usually going Budweiser. If Miller Lite has the American flag cans, then might go Miller Lite. I'm not really a big domestic guy, but I've got to celebrate an American holiday with an American beer.
There's the bro in him. There it is. Boric,
It'll always show through.
It'll always show through. Boric, what's your drink of choice, kid?
Mine actually is normally I'm with Rob. Normally I have a lot of it's not the same that it would be around the year because I normally get Guinness at times. I had Labatt recently, and I mix it up with different things around the years. But normally if it's not Budweiser, which is literally a beer I normally don't drink otherwise other than on the 4th of July because it's not one of my favorites, but it is the 4th of freaking July and they're one of the most American companies. So I have that sometimes, or my other one will be, I'm trying to remember. Oh, wait, here it is. It's on my freaking beer wall that I have here. It's the Delco. It's the Delco brewery thing. Delco has a pretty good beer that they make that my dad let me try. So that's from this area. So that's also representing the area. And then another one from the area is Yingling. Those are always my go-to of American beers.
You went with the Andrew choice, Yingling. All right, I
can't go
support
wrong with
all
the Yingling,
those.
though.
You
That's a
really
local beer.
Yeah.
That's what's
So
Berks
so
County, I believe.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and then Delco Brewing's obviously in freaking Delco, and they have a good one as well. So
All right, guys. Last
Victory's
question
awesome.
on 4th of July's and holidays in general. This is look one of the best things about the 4th of July, obviously, is provided there's good weather, even if there's not, suck it up, go outside, enjoy the fresh air. You get to barbecue, you get to hang out with a bunch of people, you get to drink. Usually there's some sort of water, which is great. Water calms everybody down or hypes you up, depending on where you're at in the evening. There's always good party games. There's always good long games going on out there. There are going to be different games at every house you go to. There's a couple mainstays that appear everywhere, a couple party games, a couple drinking games, whatever it may be. Obviously, we're going to start watching some baseball games soon, less than 3 weeks away. Over here at my house, for those of you who are not listeners anyway, sorry, we're not that close yet, guys. But our podcast guys. So I'm curious to see what types of games you guys would want for pregame, not in the sense of Rob's corny ass pregame as a word, but prior to a baseball game, while we're outside and we're grilling and we're just hanging out and talking baseball.
It's literally the same damn thing.
It is
Well,
not.
not really. But
Exactly.
Kind
It is not at all the same thing. But what
of,
types
kind
of
of the same thing.
what types of lawn games and things like that would you guys want to be playing? Rob, I'll start with you since you again strike me as the ultimate fourth guy.
Well, cornhole is always a go-to, but I'm going to go with a different one. I don't know if you heard of Can Jam before. You probably have.
Yep.
You've heard of Can Jam? I love Can Jam. Even though I am terrible at throwing a frisbee, somehow I'm able to put it all together and actually be pretty good at Can Jam.
All right, I respect that. I like it. All right, Bork, what do you got?
That is a really fun game, so I'm down for that definitely. Mine normally is just keeping it simple, like horseshoes or the
Love horseshoes.
bag. I forget what the freak the bag toss game is, but the game where you toss the bean bags into the thing.
Yeah.
That game is fine, and
That's cornhole.
that is cornhole. Okay,
Mhm.
I don't remember.
Come on, man. You don't know what cornhole is?
I don't.
No,
remember.
he just comes to win. Whatever object's placed in his hand, he's here to fuck shit up.
And then I'm trying to remember bocce. Bocce's a good game too. There it is. I was trying to remember the name of the last one. There it is. Found it. Bocce's a pretty decent game as well, so that's another one.
All right, solid. So we got some ideas. So for the ANYP guys who are not on this show, the CTP guys that are not on this show, you got something to sit there and think about. You got some games that you might want to sit there and think who the hell is going to beat Bork and Bocce or Rob in anything. So again, I think Rob's probably going to take this shit home. He's like a professional drunk. It's in the most endearing way, by the way. You just handle yourself well. You seem like a good time. But there we go. We gave it 15 minutes of our Sunday show, and that's all I'm willing to give this one because there's a lot of baseball news going on. There's a lot of sports news in general going on at this point. So let's start with this one. And this is not specific to the Phillies at all. And it's not even specific just to baseball, but cancel culture has gotten the names of certain organizations all across sports. We see it with the Redskins at this point, and their PR team spent, 37 and a half seconds formulating their response that they were going to go ahead and have a meeting about this. Brilliant. Terry Francona has come out and said about the Cleveland Indians that he believes it's time for a change. The Kansas City Chiefs are also potentially another team that have to sit there and reevaluate what their name and identity is. What are you guys at, or where are you guys at with cancel culture in general? Right now, everything is coming under the radar. I have a very different opinion that may rub some people the wrong way. So I'm curious to get where you guys are kind of at. Do you believe that these names and the identity that they've kind of grown with over the years and decades should be called into question and that they should be changed? Do you think it's a case-by-case basis? Where are we kind of at there? Rob, we'll start with you.
I think it's kind of out there, man. I guess I can understand, Redskins has been an offensive term for Native Americans, and they've made that known throughout the years. So maybe Redskins is a little bit crossing the line, but is Indians an offensive term? Is that really offensive? Is Chiefs an offensive term? Isn't that just...
Chief is only offensive if you sit there and call someone chief. That shit's corny as hell.
Yeah.
You can't chief someone. That's weird.
Indian is what it is. It's Indian. It's Native American. Unless there's something more that I don't know about, there's nothing offensive about that. I mean, and they got rid of the Chief Wahoo, which, you know, some people were complaining about. They got rid of that. I just think this whole thing is going overboard. I can somewhat understand it with the Redskins. The other ones, I don't get it, man. I think it's going too far. I think this cancel culture thing is going too far with this.
So I'm kind of on a similar wavelength here. For me, I take a look at any of these situations, you know, and I say, how can you make someone apologize for, you know, how can we correct something that was accepted when it came into existence? You know, it's hard, and that's a piece of history in some respect. Now, again, this is case by case basis. There are certain teams and certain identities that, for all we know, yes, this is long overdue with something like the Redskins. You know, it's been fought numerous times over the last 2 decades. This isn't a shock to anyone. But at a certain point, you know, I do sit there and think, man, like some of these team identities, like this is something that shows you history and shows you growth. Who's asking questions about certain identities anymore, if not for these major sports organizations or college universities and what their identities are? You know, this is, you know, it's tough for me seeing statues ripped down and all these different things that are happening and occurring. All of these people said and did things 100 years ago, 80 years ago, whatever it may be, may have been accepted at that time. And it's part of history. We've grown from that, and we should learn from that. It's tough when you're sitting here and you're looking to rebrand an entire organization. It's like you're just attempting to wipe something away from history rather than educate people about it. So I think there's a difference there. And again, it's a case-by-case thing. Bork, where are you at with it?
Yeah, I think it's a case-by-case thing. I know in hockey, there's some junior league teams that have names corresponding to natives that when watching NHL Network, they also said some of those teams are doing reviews on their teams as well. So this is expanding like all levels of sports, even to the lowest levels with this stuff right now. A team that I'm surprised we haven't heard a lot about is the Blackhawks, since it's kind of obvious that they're about Native Americans. And you haven't heard a lot of people other than like one article written about it. And all that article was about is, will people ask the Blackhawks to change their name, or like, will it eventually be brought up? Like so I'm not saying I think they should have to change their name. I'm more saying just because of what's going on, I'm kind of shocked that obvious one hasn't been brought up. It's kind of surprised me that as many people haven't brought that up. But the Redskins, because I know from watching and listening to different stuff on the radio over the years, is actually an offensive term to natives. So that one makes perfect sense for me. Absolutely. to get rid of. Where that's why most people just say Cowboys, Washington, and then Eagles when they talk about, and then Giants when they talk about our divisions. A lot of people don't even call them by their actual nickname anymore. So that makes a lot of sense to me.
You're right. I call them the Deadskins, not the Redskins.
So, so I think it goes on a case-by-case basis. I think the teams reviewing, some of them I know are reviewing with their town folks as well. So, that's a good idea to kind of get a lay of the land and ask people that are still natives as well, like what their opinions are on it, to see about their name change. So I do think that's a good idea rather than just randomly doing it, because then you know if your name compared to Washington's is actually offensive, or kind of they would rather just have you explain why you named your franchise that, more kind of like Shane was getting at, to reveal the history. Maybe they're say, your name's not offensive, but we don't like the fact that you never really explained why you named your team the Chicago Blackhawks or Cleveland Indians as well as you probably could have. So maybe if you do that, then it will help with things. Like that's kind of what I was thinking a little bit too.
There's kind of that similar situation to that the Florida State Seminoles, I mentioned it briefly in the group chat. Yeah. I'm not 100% on this, but I believe that they actually addressed it with local Indian tribes down there, and they came to some sort of an agreement that they could keep the Seminole nickname as long as they made contributions to the reservations and they utilized the nickname in a good light and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's one example of exactly what you're talking about there, Boric. And also I want to bring up that this actually did briefly become somewhat of an issue during the MLB postseason last year. I forget the name of the pitcher, but it was a Cardinals pitcher who took offense to Braves fans, I believe, doing the tomahawk chop.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually said no chop during the game, and a lot of fans still did it, and they still had the music playing. But yeah, this isn't the first time.
I think the stadium music itself went away. I think that it was what we heard for their postseason showing was specifically fans taking it upon themselves, which I don't know that it'll ever truly go away. That's been in existence in that organization as long as I can remember.
Yeah. I just found who that it says Atlanta Braves ruled it was after they used it, a pitcher for the Cardinals who was a rookie at the time, Ryan Hesley, because he's a member of the Cherokee Nation, called the chop disrespectful. So since the pitcher's a member of the Cherokee Nation himself, he said that he found it disrespectful.
Yeah. And again, it's going to be a case by case thing. Like I said, we're obviously here in Philadelphia with our sports teams. Most of our sports teams' names are honestly stupid. Like the Philadelphia Phillies just sound it doesn't matter. But this is a particular topic that we're not going to have to face with our sports teams. But I do sit there and take a look at some of those teams because they are named for something that was relevant and important to their culture and their town and their city and that history, and you're wiping that away rather than taking the opportunity to do something like what we believe at this point. I haven't confirmed it yet either, Rob. But what Florida State has done, there's a way to make this work. There's a way to not wipe away history, but rather take this and the platform that we're on, not us, but sports in general, to educate better. And it's a shame. It's a shame that the world has moved into this kind of a direction. Obviously, what we said, certain situations, Redskins being one of them, we're all in support of. Like this has been a long time coming. Other ones, a little different. We don't know everything yet, but it is, man. It's sports are getting more news for not sport related things these days, and it's tough. It's tough to talk about. It's tough to turn on sports radio and listen. It's tough to open up articles and read over and over and over again all the things that we've done wrong that we didn't know. But let's get into some Philly stuff now. In very Philadelphia-like fashion, we have a COVID-specific list in baseball that we're not allowed to say that a player has COVID, and we're not allowed to say that they're on this list, but we're allowed to be vague enough about it that we can put the clues together. There are a handful of Philadelphia Phillies over the last week and a half now who have appeared on this kind of a list or just have not yet appeared at camp. So we can kind of put these things together. Aaron Nola being one of them, Scott Kingery, Hector Neris, Adam Hazley. I feel like there's someone else just
Ranger
came out.
Suarez.
Ranger Suarez. I feel like there was at least, I already named him. Yeah.
Nola, I believe, is a name that was brought up, although they said he was just exhibiting symptoms.
Well, we don't know yet, and that's the thing. It can be anything. So I get this text now every single day from my employer, and Rob, you may get the same, I'm not sure. Every single day I get this novel of a text. if I've experienced, and it lists every single thing that every human goes through, possibly every single week. Like if you've had a headache since 1993, you have COVID. If your back hurts for 3.5 minutes because you lifted something wrong, you're exhibiting signs of COVID. All of these natural day-to-day things now that I have to check off, and I have to tell my employer, no, I'm not exhibiting these signs, or yes, I am, and if I am, I have to be out for 2 weeks. I don't know
you
how.
Sneezed even once in the past week. Yeah,
that's it. And like that's, and we're semi making light of something that we probably shouldn't, but that is how strict and how cautious they have to be. And Aaron Nola at this point, his name has probably been mentioned in the most vague light of all of this. And I think it's just because he is the ace of the staff. He's going to command a certain amount of attention that a Scott Kingery, as much as I love him, is not going to command. And Adam Hazley, as much as I love him, is not going to command. But it's concerning, and we're seeing now Freddie Freeman hit him like a ton of bricks has been the thing that is followed his statement at this point. His wife put something out on Instagram about how cautious he was and their family had been throughout this entire period, and he still got it, and he's having a tough time. I can't remember the Denver football player, but someone else, same type of thing. It really knocks you out. This is not a joking thing. Are we playing with fire here, bringing sports back, and especially a sport like baseball that at this point looks like we're still going to travel?
I would think so, because I've been listening to a lot of podcasts over the quarantine, and the NBA and NHL are in a more bubble format. And they also came out, the NHL today and the NBA a while ago, with how rigorous the testing is going to be, where they're going to test basically everyone and basically often and daily. So, like, baseball, they said on the one baseball podcast I was listening to, you almost have to have those tests that result quicker because you're traveling all the time. That give you almost have to have an abundance of those really quick resulting tests to almost feel comfortable always getting on a plane with a bunch of people and then always come, because you're not going to be able to drive everywhere. Like the Phillies are probably not going to drive to Toronto. So there's some places you play, probably not going to want to drive all the way to Miami either. So you're going to still fly. So there's question marks when it goes, oh, well, we'll have the results tomorrow. Well, we've seen multiple times now with the way that testing goes, that someone's positive one day and then the next day or whatever, because of a false positive or whatever, because of how quick the virus, depending on the person, whatever it may be, they test negative almost 28 to 48 hours later. So if you don't have those quick testing with the traveling, it's a lot harder, because at least if you're in a bubble, if someone even experiences any symptoms, when you test them, you kind of know what's going on with everybody more, because you have them in such a strict baseline. Baseball is literally just trusting everybody when they go home that they're going to all be responsible. And Trout kind of hinted on it with his concerns. Youngsters are going to want to go out. Guys that aren't married or not going to probably want to sit inside, paraphrasing, like he kind of hinted at it, where that's the way it is. And he's not the only person to say that, where it is on the older players on the team and the team leaders to kind of tell all of the players on the team, you got to have your stuff together. You have to have everything together this year and just chill and be able to enjoy your family time and don't be an idiot and go to all these different things. You're going to have to be pretty bored during the baseball season, probably when not playing baseball, in order for this to work. Because if guys are irresponsible, this is going to become a domino effect pretty quickly.
As Phil Murphy would call them, knuckleheads.
Yeah, if guys are...
All right, everyone. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties there here in all three studios, since we are still Skyping these shows. But we were just talking about the difficulties of bringing sports back. When we take a look at the Freddie Freemans and the other athletes who have already been impacted, obviously what we know just from, everyday, people who are not at the top of the world in terms of their physical fitness and physical prowess. But COVID's still very much a real thing. It's still terrifying, and it's still impacting the way that we're able to do things. Hockey, I think, and Borg, you can correct me on this. You're our hockey guy at this point now, along with Rob. But they tested, and it was it 33 players out of the 800 or whatever that had it? Do you recall the numbers or stats on that?
It was something in the mid 30s. I can't recall the exact number, but I think you're right around the number on that. So
okay, so you take a look at something like that, and it impacts the way the confidence I think everyday players have about going to work. We've heard from Zach Wheeler all off season at this point, stating he's not 100% comfortable knowing that his wife is expected to go into labor at the end of this month, actually, when she's actually, I believe, due right around the time the season starts. So there's going to be a quarantine period for him there, and is he going to feel comfortable coming back to work and playing and finishing out this season? We're seeing guys like David Price step away from the game and say, look, this isn't it this year. Like this, I don't feel good about what's going on. And we're seeing it all across the sport. We're seeing it all across the NBA. We're seeing it. Well, we haven't yet seen it in the NHL, where people have decided that they're not going to report to those two hub cities.
By the way, Shane, it was I just looked it up.
22.
It says NHL says 26 players
26.
have tested positive for coronavirus since June 8th.
Okay.
So.
Thanks, man. So, again, that goes to show you, and these are guys that are getting tested sporadically. But we're gonna see cases pop up, and they're gonna pop up a lot. We're seeing these active rosters at it's going to be 30, then down to 28, and down to 26, and they're going to be able to carry 60 guys at this point on a roster that are going to be able to be interchanged at any point when these things happen. This is terrifying. How is this going to impact the legitimacy of what this season could be? For the fans' perspective, I'm glad that we're going to have baseball back. Of course, we're all itching to get sports back. But then from the human side of it, this is tough. You got the superstar of the game who's uncomfortable with this right now, and leave it to his weirdo manager to sit there and say something that probably is not going to sit super well with Mike Trout. But what do you guys feel is kind of going on here in the player's mindset as to this? Like I said, I think we're 18, 19 days away from the season start. How comfortable do you think these guys are? Rob, I'll start with you.
I'd say it's probably 50-50. I'd say you probably have half the players that are comfortable. They're fine with going out there and playing ball. And then you have the 50% of the players who you've probably heard more from in the media. And the guys like the Mike Trouts and the Zach Wheelers who are, they're in situations where their wives are pregnant, they're having kids, they're starting families, and they're a little bit more uncomfortable because of that. So it really, for baseball, it's up to, I think, weighing the pros and cons of bringing back the game. On one hand, you have a nation who is starving for anything, any kind of sport, really, just to kind of put their minds at ease and take their minds off of the things that are going on right now, a distraction, if you will. But on the other hand, you have this, you have COVID. You've got to at least address it. So I kind of think that baseball is going to come at this from maybe a little bit of a nothing to lose standpoint, where they're set to play a 60-game season, and they're probably thinking, okay, if this becomes too big of an issue, then the worst thing that happens is we're going to cancel a season that was only going to be 60 games anyway. I think that's the approach that Major League Baseball is taking to this.
And I hear that, and I mean, in some ways, from a business standpoint, I think you're 100% correct. That is how baseball is going to approach it. But I do take a look at these players who rely on, again, just elite physical abilities to go out there and perform at a high level every day comfortably. And I know this isn't sports related, but this is someone who relies on their lung capacity to do the things that make them great. There's a Broadway singer. Sorry again for all the technical difficulties tonight, guys. This is going to be a really choppy Sunday night edition. Probably not our finest. We do apologize. This is what happens, by the way, when we have a significantly better host than Andrew, who's been taking over the last several shows. But a little out of whack here and little malfunctions with the computers. So, but thanks for sticking with us, through this part. But we're talking about, the implications of COVID and what it has here for our Philadelphia Phillies, for people all across the sport. And I guess one of the things I'm wondering most is, how much do you guys view this season as a quote unquote kind of like a real baseball season? I know the 60 games is the 60 games. We kind of take a look at this thing, and this may not be a question of the team with the most talent, because some people are opting out. This may not be a team or a question of who just got hot at the right time. This may genuinely be who's fortunate enough to not play in a hot zone and remain healthy and non-COVID impacted. We may see a team that has absolutely no business in the postseason make the postseason, and we may see a World Series winner at the end of the 60 games, or the end of the 60-game season, and then postseason that is just a joke. Do you guys still view this season as a legitimate baseball season? Bork, I'll go to you, man.
It's not. There's definitely going to be, especially with the guys that are getting sick. You're definitely going to have an asterisk. Larry Boa talked about it on the NBC Sports Morning Show. No matter what, but like he said, you're still going to be elated if you win, because you still won the damn World Series. So if you win, you're still going to be elated, but there's definitely going to be a different asterisk there, because you can't project. You're not going to have the same numbers. Some guys do great through 60 games, like Reese did last year, and then fall off a cliff in the second half. So that's why there's definitely going to be an asterisk, and there's going to be, the biggest concern is going to be exactly what they're saying about the NHL and NBA. But the big thing with them is, just like they did in soccer, which my friend who watches soccer explains to me, the cases went down once they brought them into their controlled hubs amongst the sport. So that's what obviously the NBA and NHL is hoping they will do. The MLB doesn't have that, because they never thought of doing potential for whatever hubs it would have to be to house all the teams. They want to travel still between. So it's going to be interesting how that works. And that you have guys like Freeman. I know Posey's expressed concern. And in Bob Nightingale's article I read earlier, he said the Arizona Diamondbacks are missing 2/3 of their starting outfield already. The Rays have had 6 players missing from their workouts. So there's a lot of concerns that you would hope, once you kind of implement better, like the MLB saying they're looking into how to implement better testing protocol, once that is really ramped up, that it will help people, and implementing better protocols in general, that'll kind of help, because right now it doesn't seem like it's the best the way they're doing it compared to other leagues.
I completely agree with that. When it was originally brought up early on in this process, it was, I believe they were the first to talk about potentially having hub cities. They were going to do the spring training locations. And then a ton of players came out and said that the season's too long. That's entirely too long to be away from their family. And they kind of nixed that pretty quick. So I am shocked at this point that traveling is still something that, and again, the way the schedule is shaking out. Obviously, they're keeping you on your coast. They're keeping you within like a reasonable travel range, but you are still getting on these planes and breathing used air. And if someone has it, you're all getting it. This is nuts. So I do think that this is just a really unique way that I think is incredibly incorrect to be putting these players out there. Rob, what's your feeling on the matter?
It's not a real season, no matter how you try to slice it. It's just, to me, it's just going to be baseball games being played, kind of willy-nilly with it. It's going to feel like there's no structure to it. It's not going to feel like a real season, and it shouldn't be viewed as one. It should be, I don't even know how to describe it. It's completely different than what we're used to. It's 102 games less, and the playoffs are going to be different. The rules are going to be all different. We're going to be playing against American League East teams mixed in with the regular NL East teams that we always play against. It's just everything's going to be completely different from a normal Major League Baseball season. So, yes, I think that there's going to be an asterisk, and it deserves one at this point.
Yeah, I can't help but agree, man. And I've been on the side of hoping and wanting to get back sports, obviously as a consumer, and we sit here and we want this product back. We want some normalcy to our lives. And Rob, I believe you mentioned it earlier, just to kind of breathe some hope into the country again, back to some normalcy and excite us. But as we see what this is, and again, now different research is coming out obviously every single day. It mutates, and we know that, and we were worried that would impact the likelihood of a vaccine. But it appears that it's mutating into the common cold, which we've all experienced. And if that is going to be the direction that it mutates, and mercifully it halts there, I'm not as terrified of what could happen. But we don't know. We have no idea when it stops mutating. We have no idea. We're not scientists, and I don't know that the scientists know at this point either. And because they don't know, or I don't believe that they know, and because we don't yet have a vaccine, I am actually more so on the side of maybe let's just chalk this year up. Let's not bring these players back. Start this season, see a huge rise, see a huge spike, and put these guys at a risk that we just didn't need to put them at this year. At this point, going to a 60-game season that so many of us are going to look at the end of the day, unless your city's the team that wins, you're going to sit there and say, this is an illegitimate season. Like, this is just, nothing feels right about it. As excited as I am to watch baseball in 19 days, I'm equally as terrified. And I feel terrible for the guys who are there probably because they feel pressured to be there.
That's probably why Trout's there.
I believe so, and he's a face of baseball, even if he doesn't exactly embrace that. He is, not even up for debate. He is the best player in the sport right now. But let's talk specifically Phillies here. We mentioned David Price has decided to say, hey, I'm not going to play. Ian Desmond, I'm not going to play. Leak, not going to play. And then you have a whole bunch of guys who are on this exception list right now who are either dealing with symptoms, have interacted with someone who has tested positive, and they're going through the protocol before they're able to rejoin their teams. At a certain point, I think every organization has to sit there and look at their, I don't want to say high risk as if they could potentially contract this. But I would say people that you believe at a certain point, either prior to season start or during the season, may say, you know what, this is not worth the risk at this point, and I need to be with my family and I need to be healthy. If you guys had to name a Philly or two or three, whatever you fear at this point may warrant it, is there anyone you think might walk away from this game in 2020 who wear our Philadelphia Phillies uniform? Boric, I'll start with you.
The biggest one is Wheels, Zach Wheeler, who we just signed, because he's already citing some concern back and forth. He kind of came for now, like Todd Jalecki wrote in his article, and it's very highly possible him and Aaron Nola will not be available to pitch on opening day against who we believe is the Marlins now. So
Spencer Howard, just let it go.
Yeah, that also means Connor Seabold or someone like that might have to be in your rotation too, because if two guys are out, you're going to have to pull two guys from the minor league rotation, not just Spence, so that'll get really interesting. But I think he's one. It's going to be interesting with if it really upticks. Obviously, this guy has the most dedication to the game, but he is having a new baby girl. If it really upticks, I'm interested to see what Bryce does, because he's a very family-oriented person as well, obviously. So I think, and I wouldn't blame him if he cares about his family before the game in this situation whatsoever. So
Like he cared about his family in any situation.
No. But that's true. But I'm just saying, like, this is like a paramount. Like, if you want to be with your family, you can be with your family, especially if it really starts spiking and Rob Manfred's just being an idiot.
He's always being an idiot. That's
since you said 3, I'm trying to think who else on our team might be having. Well, people that experienced it right now that already have had COVID, if they believe that someone in their family, maybe the other thing is not even just them, but anybody, if they feel someone in their family, if they hear, oh, such and such in my family, my wife, my kid or whatever has contracted it and they're doing really bad, hopefully we pray that doesn't happen, but if they're sick, they're probably going to want to feel compelled to go home. And that's obviously likely going to be the case, and you can't blame anybody for that as well. So that could really be anybody. That's why this year is going to be very interesting, and you pray that none of that happens, but to follow along because some of that's bound to happen just odds-wise.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was going to go the Wheeler route, but since you went that route, I'm actually going to go JT. I think that he might be thinking, okay, it's a contract year. And while on one hand, if I put up big numbers this year, then I can increase my asking price and demand a higher salary. But he's probably thinking at the same time that, okay, what if I get this COVID and it does have a long-term effect on me? And athletes, like you said, Shane, they rely on their lungs. And what if maybe that's something that's in the back of his mind. What if it does have a long-term effect on him and hurts his career potentially? That JT being in a contract year, there's got to be a lot of things weighing on his mind, and I'm sure that he's out there not just thinking about his contract, but also weighing the pros and cons of playing the season.
I agree to an extent with JT. I would say the fact that JT was immediately at camp is a good sign. However, I do believe that he would 100% be one, and rightly so. If an outbreak begins and we start hearing 6, 8, 9 different Phillies, have contracted this, or they're about to head to Miami and 9 different Marlins have this right now, he may be a guy that says, you know what, it would behoove me at this point to step away and let my last season speak for itself. And we're going to enter into a terrible negotiation period across the board. Let's just see what happens. But at this point, it doesn't necessarily behoove any of these free agents to go out there and play a shortened season if they're uncertain health-wise.
Yeah. Well, another guy going off that logic he would probably not dip out right away because he would have to have a hot start to get paid what he wants to. But Didi, if he had a hot start and the spike went up, might consider dipping out because he only hit in the 230s last year, so he's probably and got injured, so he's probably going to want to show himself off a little bit more. But if he got off to a very hot start in the first month and then in the second month all of a sudden the cases were getting really bad, that's definitely a high possibility.
Yeah, man. So this is. Go ahead, Bork.
No, I was going to say, if he becomes what you think he can become in your lineup for 1 year, that's going to be a huge loss, that probably way more than people think going into the season if he were to be someone that steps away.
Absolutely. He was a key acquisition for us in the offseason here. And he's a Girardi guy. So, he's someone that can help kind of implement, Girardi's system and kind of way of clubhousing, and you need that. Managers always need a player that understands them and gets them, and especially entering a new clubhouse. I think the importance of Didi is well beyond inside the diamond. But let's before we wrap this one up, let's shift over to, in a perfect world, 60 games are played, and we have a couple over-unders here. Perfect world, all 60 games. Harper gets to play in all 60 games. Over under, Harper finishes in the top 5 of the league, not just National League, but all of baseball in home runs. Rob, what do you got?
I'd say, yeah. On our last show, I went out and I well, not our last show, but the last one that I was on last Sunday. I went out and I believe
21.
I set the number at 21. Yeah, Scott's the one who went higher. Scott went 23. I went 21. I think that in a 60-game season, 21 would be right around that maybe 3 to 4 range in terms of the home run list. So, yeah, I would say top 5.
I like it. Bork, you challenging that, or are you thinking that he's going to fall into that top
more
5?
like 18 to 20. So, I mean, I think he'll still fall into the top 5. It's more, but now when I looked into it more and listened to people that have been at it way longer than me on MLB Network, they are right. He does do great in the hot months, so this might not be similar to a start of the normal season, but where he usually gets hot for like the first week and a half and then goes cold and then gets hot again. So that, by that logic, yeah, I kind of changed my stance a bit, and I would say he's going to at least get 20, so that would probably be at least 4 or 5 this year. So, yeah, he could be in the top 5.
I enjoy the positive outlook on that, especially on the long ball here in a city that, well, we've craved it for a while. All right, so team stat here. So Phillies win 33.5 games. Are you taking the over on that or the under? And I'll start with Bork this time. Sorry.
Well, that'll be a pretty okay season. I'm trying to think if I think we could get to that this year with our pitching. I would almost take the even on that, to be quite honest, because I think that would be almost.
You think they're going to win 33.5 games?
Well, that would be if someone like said, where would you put the Phillies high, and like held me at gunpoint and was like, where's the high for the season? I would probably say 33 to 33. And that could be the high, because if their offense comes together as it could and they just kind of mash the ball like Twins-esque, especially since we're coming in the heat of the summer, their pitching would only have to be decent. And it depends how other guys do, because Arrieta also has been good in spurts in early parts of the seasons and then blown in the second half. So, like, if things fall into place for you, that would be my highest I would project them at. So I would say even at best.
All right. And you actually took one of the next questions, so I'll lead off with you on the next one after Rob gives his. Rob, where are you at on the Phils? 33.5, over or under?
I'm taking the over. I have them finishing somewhere around 34 and 26.
Okay. All right. I like the fact that you guys both, despite, and again, this is such a weird year. I think it's hard to definitively say anything, but you guys both seem pretty confident right now in what you believe the team can do, even with some of the circumstances that we know of right now and some of the ones that may occur, something like a Wheeler deciding to step away from the remainder of this season. But man, that gets me excited about Phillies baseball. So good. Bork, I'm going to go back to you for this one here. So you mentioned Jake Arrieta, and in what I would say would be a very Philly-like thing to happen would be Arrieta has his best season, quote unquote, as a Philly in this terrible contract that he was awarded here this year. Over under on his ERA, and it gets him another freaking contract in Philadelphia, which would blow my damn mind. But over under on his ERA at 2.8, because he has been a hot start.
Yeah, 2.8 is a really, really hot start, though, because I remember looking, he was high 3s, then like below a 1 in May when we got him in 18. Then I, for whatever reason, blowed in June, and then was good in July, and then forgot to tell the Phillies he had a knee injury. So then that's when his whole stats went kafooey. And he didn't do as good last year.
It's a very technical term.
Or 2 years ago. And then last year, he, of course, started the season off pretty well as well. But he had higher, more like 4th or 5th starter ERAs then, but he was winning games and looking productive after April. So I would say that's a little bit too low. It's probably over, because if he has a very hot, productive 60 games, I would say he's somewhere in the 3s, not in the high 2s. So I would say that's an over.
Okay. Rob.
I'm going to go over as well. I think he's worn out. I don't see him getting off to that hot start that he's gotten off to in a few of the recent seasons here. I think that he's going to carry an ERA close to the 4, and honestly, I would probably say over it. I think his ERA is probably going to be somewhere in the maybe 4.3, 4.4 range, somewhere around there. I don't see him nearly being good enough to keep it low, much less at 2.8 low.
I'm going under that though. Yeah, I don't necessarily agree that he'll be that high just because he started so good early and he's coming off of a surgery that he's even got longer to recover from than he's needed. And also the other thing that might make me think he has a chance, he's going to be over because that ERA is too low, but is like he could be a low threes or a mid threes. Is he looked really good, especially in the video they released today when he was throwing. It looked like a simulated or like regular, like kind of amped up BP to the batters. So I like what I've seen from him getting prepped for the season on the little stuff that's been out, and he looks in pretty damn good shape coming into this year, probably the best he's been in Philly.
Oh,
so
I hate that.
Those things put together, but he's also just looks efficient because if you saw his delivery when he was throwing in that video, he looked like he was kind of off last year, and you could tell he was kind of injured even before he was injured, where this year he just looks really fluent in practice. So
Fluid,
okay. And that is giving me confidence to be in the mid threes, but I just think a high 2 is old school Jake Arrieta Cubs days, so that's asking too much.
All right. I was the other way on that one. That was the reason I threw that one in there. I have oddly high hopes for Jake Arrieta this year. But story for another pod. We are really pushing this time, and Andrew's making me look awful here hosting these shows and keeping us in check at 52 an hour. So 2 last questions here, both prospect questions for us. No reasons behind this. We'll get to them on a different show, but just give me your over or under on these last 2. Rob, over or under 4.5 games started for Spencer Howard?
I'm going over. I think that somebody's going to get hurt, or maybe a guy like an Arrieta won't pitch that well, and they'll need him. So, yeah, over.
And Rob, I'll stick with you on this one too. Over or under 100 plate appearances for Alec Boehm?
It's going to be tough. I'm going to go slightly under. I think that maybe they get him spots here and there, but I think he's going to be under that.
Yeah, I was going to say for me, I would think Boehm. I actually think because of what Biscuit was talking about on our past pod a little bit, he might have a chance to get over that, because if he gets the chance to DH early after the
short answers
7-day
here
limit, then yeah, I think he'll be over. And then Howard, I think, heck yeah, he'll be over 4, because I think the guy that might struggle is Pivetta and then move to the pen. So if he struggles, then Howard will get in early, or Eflin, one of those 2.
I'm curious on the Spencer Howard one. I hear these 3 rotation plans at this point, and I'm just curious to see how this season's going to go, especially because the fact that these guys are not going to pitch very much. But all right, guys, so this has been a train wreck of an episode for so many different reasons. My apologies on most of them. My internet's been cutting in and out, so if I've been dropping in and out, it's been a mess. I've had to stop the show a couple times because of the internet. So for those of you who are listening, if it sounds choppy, we apologize. Thanks for hanging on. But let's go to a final thought real quick as we are nearing the start of baseball season. Like I said, just less than 3 weeks away at this point, we believe. And we get to start it with the freaking Marlins, because why not? Why not start against a team that's terrible, that just has our number and always will? Rob, your final thought of the day, sir.
Well, we're opening the season with a loss. We can't beat the freaking Marlins. And granted, new manager, we don't have Gabe managing us anymore. Maybe we have a guy who will whip the team into shape so that they will go out there and beat the teams that they're supposed to beat. But
that's never happened in
yet to be
Philadelphia
seen.
sports.
That's yet to be seen. So I'm predicting an opening day loss for the Phillies, and probably a fairly embarrassing one at that. Shades of that 19-11 game that we had against them last year.
That hurts. That really hurts. Bork, what is your final thought? Make it semi-decent.
Mine is, as long as he's around the team for a decent amount of time and only takes a normal paternity leave when he does. If Nola's slow to start because he's not able to come back for a bit in camp. The Zach Wheeler acquisition has just become a lot larger, and how dynamic we believe Spencer Howard can be right out of the gate has just become a lot larger. If Noah's not going to be able to go for an extended period of time or not be able to pitch past like the first inning and a half or 2 innings for a period of time. So those two guys are guys I look at, especially Wheeler, to be a huge acquisition, similarly to how Kevin Hayes for the Flyers filled in for Patrick because he was out early. So that's something I look to.
Very nice, man. Love the comp. All right, we're going to end this one just with a quick ad for our sponsors over there at Just Food. If you need food, which you should all need food, go visit our guy Asian Rob. It's 215-794-FOOD, 215-794-3663. Treat yourself. Take it home. Ask for whatever the hell you want. He will make it for you, and you're going to love it. I promise you, I love food, and I love Rob. It's delicious over there. Just do the right thing. Go check out Just Food. Now we're going to send this one over to our last sponsor here, the Jackdaws, to take us away with whatever the hell song that we're using now that I'm blanking on it. But visit the Jackdaws on their website. It's www.thejackdaws.com. We will see you guys on Tuesday or Thursday this week with another episode of Chasing the Pennant Podcast.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son, still happy life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.